Welcome to the Selling Trust Podcast with Nathan Mark. Did you know you're 10 times more likely to close a deal with an existing client than a new prospect? Today, we're diving into the Mark method to help you transform transactions into lifelong partnerships and build a referral flywheel that works for you 24/7.
Hey, Nathan Mark here with another episode of the Selling Trust Podcast, and I just want to say resentment is murdering your quotas. And honestly, the ability to forgive, it's the only thing that's going to fill them up. So here in my book, The Mark Method, right? The M is actually M squared. It's two parts, right? It's mastering your product or your offering. But the second mastery is mastering your mindset. Today, I want to talk about forgiveness, right? It's not a really sexy thing to talk about. It's not a really, jazzy sales thing to discuss. But at the end of the day, it is so wildly important to know how to forgive because it's life-changing and it is sales-changing. You know, today I was sitting in church listening to our pastor, and one of the big things he was talking about was faith and forgiveness. And I've talked about faith in the past and how we need to have more than just faith, right? We need to have a plan, right? We need to have actions behind that faith. But today, that added piece, that forgiveness piece really kind of struck me. And I gotta say, after being in the sales game for over a decade, having my own accounts, coaching, teaching, managing others, the forgiveness piece is a big one. In fact, it's something that I wish I had been talked to about earlier in my career, to be perfectly honest, because it's so imperative. Let me paint a picture for you, right? Which, as a salesperson, I'm sure that you've seen before. You're dealing with a customer. That customer is difficult, right? You agree on a price. You do everything that you say you're gonna do. The job is done and they won't pay you. Or they won't pay you the full amount. Or they demand you to do extra work that wasn't originally part of the scope. And sure, yeah, you navigate it, right? You figure out a path forward. You figure out a way to get through it because, hey, that's your job, right? Woo! But at the end of the day, you feel wronged. You feel taken advantage of. You feel, stepped on. And honestly, you have every right to feel that way because someone treated you poorly. But now the real question is how do we move forward from that? I've done a number of things in my career, which let's learn from me and not make these same mistakes. One, I've dropped accounts, right? I've had accounts that had, multiple people that have treated me poorly. And so I just said, hey, you know what? Not for me. Boom, gone, out of here. Don't want to deal with it anymore. Is that okay? I don't know, maybe. Do you have salespeople on your team that can pick up that account and deal with it? Do you have automated processes in place that can maybe handle a difficult account? Is there maybe a salesperson that's a better fit for said difficult account? I don't have all the answers, but maybe if I would have been able to kind of swallow my pride, push through feeling bad, and push through the bruised ego, if you will, I might still have them as an account today, and maybe that relationship would have taken off, right? Maybe if I would have strategized on my approach, maybe if I would have, tucked tail a little bit and taken my licks and just kept showing up, right? Little self-abuse, never hurt anyone, right? I don't know. I don't have the answers, but it probably could have been handled better than just dropping the account. Other things that I've done in the past is with customers, if I feel like I was wronged or something, was done against me, or, once again, bruised ego, right? I've withdrawn from them. So maybe now I'm not dropping the account, but I'm hard to find, or I'm, minimally communicative. That's not helpful either, right? Forgiveness is hard. It's not an innate skill. You're not born knowing how to forgive. It is a taught skill. In fact, I think that there's a lot of people in the world nowadays that aren't taught this, right? For a multitude of different reasons that we will not go into. But I think that learning how to forgive, if not learned at a young age and practiced over and over and over, it becomes something that people don't do, and so their egos get bruised easily, and then they don't know how to move forward, often abandoning relationships rather than trying to fix them, because it's easier to have a disposable relationship and walk away from something than maybe it is to swallow our pride, take one on the chin, and forgive someone and then just keep moving forward. Along with the learning about forgiveness, there's two things really to talk about here, right? One is that forgiveness is for you. It's not for anyone else. It doesn't matter if you go up and tell someone, hey, listen, I forgive you. Because that person is probably gonna be like, hey, guess what? I don't give a shit. Or, cool, thanks, bro. Like, you telling someone that you forgive them really doesn't do anything except kind of restart conflict. So understand that the act of forgiving someone, it's for you. It's internal. It's your way of saying, listen, me forgiving them is putting the bullshit behind me. I'm gonna take whatever happened between us and I'm putting it to bed. I'm burying it so that it's not gonna bother me anymore. It's not gonna affect how I operate in my daily life. That person is not gonna live rent-free in my head and distract me from the things that I need to do, right? So let's understand that forgiveness is for you and nobody else, first and foremost. Second, as a mentor or as a manager, it's our job to help people on our sales team learn to forgive. If people were never taught how to do this as a youngster, then it's not a tool that they have in their tool belt. So you could be filled up with salespeople in your team that have no concept of how to let things go. And so the minute that they're wronged by a customer, the minute that something, goes off the rails and they feel that they were taken advantage of or made to feel less than, all of a sudden walls and resentments start going up. This is gonna cause some major problems, not only to the mindset of your team, but also to your deliverables, right? People that are constantly, dealing with resentments and dealing with hurt feelings and dealing with bruised egos, those people cannot move forward. Those people tend to operate in a state of paralysis or a state of extreme distraction. So as a sales manager, as a sales leader, it's our job to monitor what our salespeople are going through. Whether that's in-house, inner conflicts between the sales team, or whether that's external to the company with customers, right? Both are important, both need to be navigated. The navigation looks a little different in either scenario, but ultimately it comes down to preaching the message to the team that, hey, we have to find ways to get past stuff. And there is a multitude of ways to deal with moving on. I'm not gonna sit here and talk about all of them, but it is so important to be able to teach that to the sales team. Mastering your mind, mastering the ability to forgive is going to let you master your time. You're gonna have control over your focus. You're gonna have control over your energy. You're gonna have control over your day. And you're gonna be able to accomplish so much more because these nagging, pestering little thoughts about he or she that did me dirty aren't going to be there, because you know what? You've walked away from it. You've put it in your rearview mirror and you've come up with ways that you're gonna deal with it. I'm not saying to forget it. I'm not saying to act like nothing ever happened. What I am saying is be strategic about it. Put it to bed and remember what happened. Guard yourself for a future encounter that might happen, right? Because people are who they are and people don't tend to change, but at the same time, maybe now you know that someone has proclivities to act a certain way, so they need to be approached differently. Maybe for people that are difficult, you start implementing more automation. That is an option nowadays. Maybe for people who are hard to deal with, you shift them to a team, right? Like customers that are hard to deal with, you shift them to a team that isn't trying to go super deep on relationships, but is really just there to serve the needs of the customers with no emotion. It can look a lot of different ways, right? We just need to have a plan. We're gonna back up our plan of success with our ability to forgive. Those two things combined are gonna lead to greatness. They're gonna lead to stellar, outstanding stellar, outstanding results. They will actually lead to stellar, outstanding adults as well, if we all learn how to forgive better. So with that being said, I challenge you, figure out how you're going to deal with forgiveness. Figure out how you are going to take people that have wronged you, whether it is customers, whether it's internal to your organization, whether it's family members, whether it's your teenage kid, whoever it may be. Figure out how you are going to bury the hatchet and not give up time and energy and resources on negative energy and negative emotions that are only slowing you down and causing you to be less than your best self. If you need help with this, if you want to talk to someone about this and strategize about it, if you have a sales team that is having trouble dealing with difficult clients, or you have a sales team that is having trouble, dealing with, unresponsive vendors who are always trying to get one over on you, let's talk about it. And let's come up with some strategies and some tactics that can create a better working situation and not have so many, fiery emotions tied up in the transaction. I would absolutely love to talk with you about this and help you out with this problem. Because at the end of the day, the inability to forgive, holding on to a resentment is just going to kill your pipeline. It is going to slow down your growth, and it is going to bring your sales team inevitably to their knees. But teaching them this skill, teaching them how to forgive and move on from tough, difficult situations is going to liberate your team and is going to fill your pipeline and is going to increase your success exponentially. Can't wait to hear from you guys about this. I'd love to talk more about it. If you have anything that you want to add in the comments, go ahead and do so. And with that being said, take care. Enjoy the Super Bowl, or it'll probably be after the Super Bowl that this is posted. So I hope you enjoyed the Super Bowl, and I look forward to talking again sometime soon. I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.
Welcome to the Selling Trust Podcast with Nathan Mark. Did you know you're 10 times more likely to close a deal with an existing client than a new prospect? Today, we're diving into the Mark method to help you transform transactions into lifelong partnerships and build a referral flywheel that works for you 24/7.